hey, you can see that I have this test and it's 26 out of 26 and it's equal to 100%. So this video is about how we get from that fraction to percentages and even decimals because they're all related. We see percentages every day. If you look at this orange juice that I have, 100%, well, what does that mean? We know 100% for orange juice is a good thing because that means everything is orange juice. If you look at the nutrition value facts right here, there's some 0 percentages. This one is 120%. So what does that mean? There's 2%. So this video is about how we get to fractions, to decimals, and even to percentages. If we were to start off with a fraction such as something common like 1/2, well, there's two ways of doing this. We can use a calculator and go 1 divided by, because remember from my previous video, this fraction line means division. So 1 divided by 2, this will give you 0.5 because that's what half is. It's half of one number. And to change this decimal number to percentage, since percentages is out of 100, we're actually just going to multiply 100. So when you have 0.5 multiplied by 100, a shortcut of this is anytime you multiply by 100 or 10 or 1,000 or million, if you're multiplying, you're moving the decimal to the number of zeros that you have. Since we have 2 zeros, we're going to move the decimal 2 times to the right. So this is going to give us 50. So this is going to give us 50 and the decimal is behind the 0. This is going to be our percentage. So basically we went from this fraction of 1/2 to change in decimal by dividing, and then to change in percentage by moving the decimal 2 times to the right to get percentage. You might be wondering, well, why exactly do we have to multiply by 100? Why not 1,000 or million or whatnot? Well, the reason why we multiply by 100 is that because percentages are out of 100. That's why when we see these orange juice, it's 100. So in a fraction, it is really just 50, not 5, 50 out of 100. So the question here is, can we change this 1/2 into your decimal number without using a calculator? So no calculator. The trick of doing this could be a little bit tricky at first, but going back to the original one about the percentages being out of 100 and decimal multiplied by 100, the trick here is that you're going to find an equivalent fraction that is out of 100. So we're going to make your fraction into 100 if possible. So 2 actually does go into 100. It goes into 150 times. So what you do to the bottom, you gotta do it to the top. So 1 multiplied by 50 is 50. So you notice that this is really similar to your percentage. So 500 divided by, remember this is division, so 50 divided by 100 is similar to this previous one about multiplied by 100, but instead of moving the decimal place here, oh, that color is no good, the decimal after 0 to the right, because we're dividing, we actually move it to the left. Okay, so if we move the decimal 2 places to the left, that gives you 0.50. That's because we divided. Okay, but you notice that the decimal number is exactly the same as what we did with the calculator. And then if you want to change it into a percentage, you do exactly the same thing as what you did here, and then you have to again multiply by 100 because remember percentages are out of 100, so it's going to be 50%. Okay, so this one you just have to understand that from fraction to decimal is just division. With the calculator it's really easy because it's just 1 divided by 2 and then multiply by 100 to get to percentage. If you don't use a calculator, you need to find the equivalent fraction that's out of 100 and then do the same to the numerator. That will give you if you were to skip the step, that will give you the percentage. So that's really 50%. And if you want to change into decimal, then you have to divide by 100 because this is 50 out of 100. So you move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, so that's one of the questions. Let's try another example. If we were to use a number like 3 out of 5, So how do we change this into a percentage? Because 3 out of 5, you can't really figure what the percentage is, what the percentage is. So change that into a decimal number. Without using a calculator, that means that I need to make this into a out of 100. So how many times does 5 go into 100? So if we were to divide this, I believe the answer is 20. That means 5 times 20 will give you 100. So what you do to the bottom, do that to the top. So multiply the top by 20. So the answer, once you multiply that, is 60. So out of this, you should be able to, from the last question, you should be able to notice that this is out of 100. So that would be like, hey, this is a percentage because it's out of 100 already. So that's your 60%. Okay? And if you want to change this into a decimal, well, you know that 60 is divided by 100, which means that you're moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So you're moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So instead of having 60 that looks like this, it's getting a little bit messy. Here's your decimal. You're going to move this once, twice, gives you 0.60. So this is your decimal. Here's your percentage. And here's was the fraction that we started off with. So this technique of not using calculator does not work all the time because not all numbers can go into 100. Basically, if you have multiples of 5, like 10, 15 wouldn't work, 20 would work, and 25. So all these numbers would go into 100. If you have numbers like 7 or 14 or 16, they can't go into 100. That means you can't find an equivalent fraction to 100. So the only way you can figure out the decimal is really just use a calculator. Okay? So what about if we were to be given a percentage like 75%? So 75%, remember, all percentages are out of 100. So put this out of 100. So automatically you can tell that this, because you put this out of 100, this is going to be division. Remember, if you're dividing by 100, you're moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So that means you have your decimal number like that. Okay, simple as that. Or if you have some awkward number like 24%, what's the fraction? What's the decimal place? Well, all percentages are out of 100, so we're going to just change this into 100 or over 100. Because if you do 24 divided by 100, that is your percent or your decimal place. What that means is, remember, you divide by 100, you have 2 zeros in 100, so you're going to move the decimal place once, twice. So your decimal is 0.24. What about your fraction? Well, 24 out of 100 is your fraction, but it's a little bit too big. What if you were asked to reduce this into a smaller fraction or small equivalent fraction? So remember what I said from before, you can always try dividing by 2 first. Well, that's divide by 2, divide by 2. So 24 divided by 2 would be 12. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Can this be further reduced? Yes, you can. So you can try this again by dividing by 2, divide by 2. This will give you 6 out of 25. And I don't think this can be reduced anymore. So 6 out of 25 is the same as 12 out of 50, same as 24 out of 100, same as 0.24, or the same as 24%. If you don't believe me, take out your calculator, do 6 over 25, 12 over 50, 24 over 100. That's exactly the same thing. So let's do another one. What about if we have a number like 64%? How did you do on that test if you got 64 in a fraction or decimal number? So first thing to do is, because this is a percent, I'm going to put this out of 100 because all percentages are out of 100. So when athletes say that they can go 110%, that's sort of physically impossible, but I guess it sounds nice. So 64 out of 100. This means that you're dividing 64 into 100. So because you're dividing, you're shifting the decimal place 2 times to the left. So that's 0.64. So you went from percentage, fraction, decimal, just like that. But what about if you were to reduce this into a smaller fraction? Well, 64 and 100, let's try divide by 2. So divide by 2, top, that will give you 32 over 50. Can this be further reduced? Let's try divide by 2 again. This will give you 32 divided by 2. I think that is 16 and 25. Can this be further reduced? 16 can go into 2, yeah, but 25 can't. What about 3? 16 can't go into 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's it. So this is, if there's a mistake, just let me know, but I think this might be the last, it's the most reduced fraction. So again, 16 over 25 is exactly the same as 32 over 50, same as 0.64, same as 64 over 100, same as 64%. All these decimal numbers, fractions are all interrelated. Okay, that's how you can change from percentage to fraction to decimal place. Okay, what about if you were to be? What if you were given a decimal number, say I don't know, 72. Okay, this is a decimal number, so if you want to change this into a percentage, this has to be out of 100. So 72 out of 100. What I just did was I multiplied by 100 because, well, I guess to get the decimal into percentage, you multiply by 100. I think I just totally skipped a step. Gives you 72. But to get this into a fraction, you put this out of 100, and that gives you 72 over 100, which gives you 72%. Okay, so there's a couple of steps here. To get the decimal into percentage, actually you should just multiply by 100 to get to 72%. And then you know all percentages are out of 100, so you put that out of 100. So it's just playing back and forth. If you multiply or you divide by 100, just move your decimal places. So that's your decimal, percentage, and fraction sort of relationship with each other. And next time you see some orange juice that says 100%, you know that is going to be everything, 100%. Okay, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.